Holy smokes, we are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and your friends. If you want to support this college football rebel outpost channel with a donation, just hit the $, make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody, and I mean everybody, even those Brian Kelly-led LSU Tigers, even those evil Badgers, even those Ohio State Buckeyes who are going to be crying. The national champions are going to be crying on October 4th, 2025. Everybody is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. In this Sunday lazy afternoon college football live show is going to be primarily a call-in show. You guys are going to lead the way. There is a subject. There's only one subject that I'm going to talk about in the monologue on this live show. And for those, I know a lot of people have been a little Greg, you haven't been on us much lately. Greg, I know you're getting through a cold. Greg, is everything okay with your mother? Thank you for all that. Everything is fine. My mother just turned 92 years old on the same day that my wife, the little general, turned 50 something years old. Everybody's doing fine. All of us are feeling good. The weather got above 40 degrees today. All the ice in front of my front door is melting today. I don't have to put a bunch of salt out there today, so everything is going good. I think, look, we're going to crank it up a lot in March. A lot. February is basically college football's peak around the corner dead month. It really is. It was last year, the year before, but in March we start cranking it up. Now, first of all, I was sick some parts of early February, but again, we are going to crank it up in March, so keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. I've gotten a couple other questions. Let me take a drink of my zero sugar cherry Coca-Cola. Hold on. I got a couple questions like, Great. Have you heard what is going on in Pac-12 country? Sounds like the San Diego State Athletic Director said something to the effect that we're going to find out everything regarding the Pac-12 expansions in another month. Interesting. Now, I got to say, I'm a little... I've read people on X saying, oh, this is good. This is good. This is the athletic director talking. This is the athletic director talking, an administrator talking, which is good. Except this particular administrator, San Diego State Aztec athletic director, has somewhat of a history of saying things out in public that aren't quite accurate. Allegedly. So we'll find out. Now, I, here at College Football's Peak Around the Corner, I have not been doing shows on the Pac. I did an episode on the Pac-12 in regards to some other reporting. I myself have not been doing shows. We haven't been saying, well, it looks like it might be Tulane and Tulane and Memphis. We haven't been doing shows that say we got information on Texas State. We haven't been doing anything on the Pac-12. The reason being, when I poke and when I prod, there's been nothing there. I don't have anything to report. I don't have any information to give a peek around the corner. I think that's probably good news because up until now, I don't think they've gotten anything nailed down. Man, now maybe they do here in late February or early March, but up until now, I don't think there has been anything. They've been working on this media rights deal. The only tiny bit of information I got dropped a little bit of a nugget in regards to that. And that is something along the lines of there's been discussions about ESPN Plus having a relationship with the new Pac-12, even though the Pac-12 has, the Pac-12 enterprises, the Pac-12 networks, whatever you want to call that. They have a structure built in. They have production ability built in. I've heard that there may be a relationship between ESPN Plus and the Pac-12. But that's all I got. And that isn't for certain. But I've been told that maybe, possibly, and I would be surprised if that happened. That's why I remember it. That's why I'm telling you now, because I said, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But ESPN Plus might be getting some more content. We shall see. Anyway, but I don't have anything on that. And then there's been other questions in regards to UConn. Now remember, last year, I don't quite remember what month it was, but I made a report, a peek around the corner report to you all that UConn wasn't going to be told no, wasn't going to be told yes on their endeavor to join the Big 12. They were not going to be told no or yes in the year of 2024. And then a couple weeks later, it was reported, remember, Yormark and UConn officials came out in public and said, we've enjoyed talking. We're going to continue to talk. We're going to take this into 2025. We don't have any information. We do not have any updates. I am sorry. We do not. I don't know if there's anything to be updated about. I think the Big 12 has to, and everybody else, by the way, has a whole lot of hurdles to jump over, to move around. We got the House versus NCAA settlement. I think everyone's waiting for that April 7th? Whatever that day is. I think there is some stuff that's got to be finalized, and then maybe we're going to get some smoke on UConn. But I don't think until, I know we don't have it now. We do not have it yet. A couple of months into 2025. Today, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about the rumors that are flying around, and they are flying, about the play-in games for the conferences when it comes to the 2026 playoffs, 2027, 2028, 29, 30. The conferences are probably most likely, as we discussed last September 9th, conferences are looking to create a championship flex, not a flex weekend actually, but a play-in weekend with a possible continuation of their conference championship games, or maybe not. Maybe not. On the title screen for this show, if you look in the old bubble, the speech bubble, the fat guy of Minnesota, and I'm hanging on to a hot dog and the mustard's gotten onto my shirt and I'm drinking a beer. 1 versus 2, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, Big Ten, SEC play-in games. If you look at the speech bubble, that would have meant that last year, if this was part of the college football landscape last year, it would have been Texas and Georgia playing for the SEC championship game. It would have been South Carolina and Tennessee. The winner of that game would have gone into the playoffs as an automatic qualifier. 5 LSU versus Bama. The winner of that game would have went to the college football playoffs as an automatic qualifier. And if you look at the Big Ten, it would have been Oregon and Penn State like it was for the Big Ten championship game. It would have been Iowa versus Indiana. The winner of that game would have had an automatic qualifying spot. Illinois, Ohio State, the winner of that play-in game, would have had an automatic qualifying spot. Now, this is the Big Ten and the SEC. There are other rumors flying. Look, we're going to go through a report real quick. Now, this report is a few days old, but I think it's going to work for what we want to talk about. It's out of The Athletic. It's Chris Vanini. Reports coming out of the SEC has had discussions. Not rumors. Now, this is report, and I believe the reports. I believe the reports because I'll let you know why at the back end of the monologue why I believe these reports. But there's been reports that the SEC is not just looking at 1 versus 2, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 for their 3 play-in games. That is going to bring in a whole lot of money for the SEC institutions. But they're actually looking at a possible play-in weekend of 4 games. 4 of them. And not having an SEC championship game to give the regular season champion the crown. Whoever finishes first in the SEC gets the crown, gets the championship. But then they would go on, now this is what they're talking about. It's an option. 4 playing games. 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, and especially in SEC country, that's crazy. They're not even talking. No way are they even talking about that. No way, Greg. No way would they put their number 1 team at risk to go against the 8th place team. Not so fast. We are going to talk about it. Let's do the roll call first. And I want to thank everybody who's coming on in on a lazy Sunday, February 23rd afternoon. LSU Tiger Ryan Brooks. I'm interested to hear what Ryan Brooks has got to say about this. Very, very interested in Ryan Brooks' comments. Charlie Atwood is in the house. Jose, the Penguins and the Rangers game, getting a little chipper. Jeremy Nork is in the house. Happy Sunday, Go State, Chad Bracey. Devil Frog, Riff Ram, Bazoo, Greg. That explains a lot. Bill G is in the house. Holy smokes, Heartbreak 25. Don't be afraid to never pick Penn State to win another game again. Holy smokes. Greg cost us the natty. Chef Maul is in the house. ESPN SEC triple header. What about a quadruple header? Probably not. Probably if it went to 4 playing games, it'd be a 2-day doubleheader, right? Well, we'll get to it. I think there's some crazy rumors flying around. That's why we named the show tonight Crazy Rumors. Look, it's February 23rd. They're meeting in Dallas, Texas on the 25th. I got a feeling that there has been somewhat of a non-official presentation already been spoken to Brett Yormark and Phillips. They're not going to be caught. They're going to know exactly what the Big Ten and the SEC are thinking about. And I think it's probably already happened as we sit here on Sunday evening. I do not know that for a fact, but I got a feeling that tonight they know everything pretty much. back to the roll call. We got a lot of rumors to get through here. We got some reporting to get through. Chef Maul is in the house. Mr. Buckeye Caleb Ramirez. Mr. Mountaineer Daniel Gygax is here. Humble Bumble Duck. The pouring rain quagmire of Willamette Valley. My goodness. Well, I hope you guys are okay up there. Ray, go Bucks. The Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, is in the house. Amazing Blue, Bimba 7579. Hello. Go Blue. Steel Austin. Go Utes. The Architect. Hello, Greg. Bring it. I bring it every time we go live. I try to, anyways. I try. RFR Mac. Go Utes. Jose Drones. Yeah, I have not received a satisfactory answer to everything that is going on in our skies, our waters, and our space above. Richard is in the house. Richard is in the house. Daniel Gygax, I'm wondering why anyone thinks Memphis would move to the Pac-12. Memphis is about the center of the AAC, and the AAC pays about what is projected from the Pac-12. Why pay for extra travel? I would agree. I would love to disagree with Mr. Gygax for it would be more interesting conversation, but I agree. Now, again, how much more, like, maybe if Memphis went to the Pac-12, a Memphis and a Tulane, maybe that number figure would be too difficult for them to turn down. I just don't think that is what's going to happen. Ryan Willie, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Appreciate it so much. Ohio State should be more worried about the Badgers on October 18th than the rodents from Minnesota. Holy smokes. Holy smokes.
Oh my God.
Look, at the Badgers are going to be all beat up before they even play the Buckeyes on October 18th. While the Minnesota Golden Gophers are going to be undefeated going into the shoe on October 4th. The Buckeyes should be more worried about us Golden Gophers than you evil Badgers. Thank you, Ryan, for the super chat. I do appreciate your generosity so very much, helping us keep the lights on here. Tumasta, holy smokes. Yellow Martian is in the house. Dr. L. Smith. Steel Austin, The Observer, Coy, Stormy Cyclone. Bob Swanger is in the house. R. Webb, James Davis, Tyler Brown. Wouldn't a 2 versus 7 make more sense and give the first seed a bye conference championship week? Maybe that's one of the options, Tyler. You bring up a pretty good point. The only thing I would say is, on that is, and we actually brought up that possibility like a month ago. Like that play-in weekend, that championship weekend, you would have a celebration. A celebration for the team that finished 1. You give them the championship. You give them at midfield. And then you have your play-in games for your other teams. But when I started thinking about it, the media companies are going to pay the money that is going to make it worthwhile for these teams for the conference to actually agree to do this. Those media companies, who's ever paying out the most, is going to want that number 1 team in a game, in my opinion. But we shall see. It's interesting. That maybe possibly is an option. Tyler Brown, Curtis, Big Ten Hockey Tournament, Hockey A. The Minnesota Golden Gophers are back in the first place in the Big Ten Conference race. They leaped ahead over the Spartans. However, Minnesota plays a very hot Penn State team next weekend. Michigan State just got swept by Penn State. Penn State is the hot team finishing off the college regular season of the Big Ten hockey. Brickbat is in the house. Clinton Moses. The Monty Show mentioned AAR. Thanks for coming on in, AAR. The Monty Show mentioned SEC versus Big Ten Conference playing. I have no idea what they're talking about. Big Ten's not going to be playing SEC and playing games. Okay. Steve, thank you for bringing that up, AR. Steve, Florida is in the house. In this current financial climate, doubtful AAC is going to let Memphis Tulane negotiate AAC's exit fee. Thanks for coming on in, Steve. Moanopoly. Buckeyes fear neither the rodentia or the that whatever those long words are. Get ready to have Jeremiah Smith put up 200 yards and 2 touchdowns on both teams. Let me before we get on, thank you Moanopoly for your super chat. Before we get on to the rumors that are flying about the playing games, I watched the great show of Moen and Becky and Sergeant Pickles are talking about. If you missed it, go to the Mafia Show, College Football Mafia Show, Big Ten edition, and go watch how they gave grades to the defensive coordinators, new offensive coordinators, and defensive coordinators hired throughout the Big Ten Conference. And they went through a lot of them. They did a great job. And they all gave Mr. Collins, defensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, they all gave him a grade of a B, I believe. A B for Danny Collins. Now, I would agree with that grade. I would definitely agree with the B. I don't think you can go higher than a B. Because Mr. Danny Collins has not been a defensive coordinator. I mean, he's never called the shots at the defensive coordinator position. However, Mr. Moanopoly talking about Jeremiah Smith putting up 200 yards and 2 touchdowns on both teams. Nah. That ain't going to happen. That is not going to happen at the shoe against my beloved golden Gophers. Danny Collins, the new defensive coordinator, an incredible legacy of being a safeties coach. Not just with Corey Perch, with Kerry Brown, and the 3 safeties that are in the NFL from the Golden Gophers, leading off with Antoine Winfield, Tyler Nubin, the guy who's on the Saints, I forget his name. There are so many great Golden Gopher safeties that have been recruited and developed by Mr. Danny Collins. So, I do agree with the B grade. But it is an incredible high ceiling for Mr. Danny Collins. an incredible high ceiling for this Golden Gopher defense. A defensive line that is old, good. They played a million snaps together. You've got the great Kerry Brown and Coy Purge at the safety positions. They're going to double up Mr. What's his name again? Jeremiah Smith. They're going to bully him. They're going to put him to the ground. They're going to get their hands on him. They're going to twist his chin strap a little bit. They're going to be physical. They're going to shut Jeremiah Smith down. Okay. All right, let's get to it. Lee, thank you, Mo, and I appreciate it. Lee, I appreciate it so very much. Mudslinging between a Buckeye and a Gopher. Okay. Let's get to an article. It was written a few days ago, but I think it's still relevant. I think it's still good. SEC, the Big Ten, discussing new formats for football championship weekend. We're going to go through this article. It's going to be pretty quick. And then I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to give you the latest buzz that is going on. And then we're going to open up the phone lines and you guys can talk for as long as you want on this subject or any other subject. But I wanted to get to this because I think we are going to be hearing a lot about this, not only on Tuesday and 2 days from now, not only on Wednesday, but I think it's quite possible we are going to hear a lot of stuff tomorrow on Monday, February 24th. So consider this a primer. Consider this, we're setting the table. SEC, the Big Ten, and we're going to talk about the latest buzz also affects what the ACC and the Big 12 are thinking about as they reimagine their conference championship weekend. New Orleans. The SEC is talking about reimagining its football championship weekend into a series of playing games to the college football playoff. That includes the somewhat radical possibility of the 8th place team getting a chance to earn a bid by knocking out the top seed. We started this live show talking about this. It's crazy, right? It's radical, right? It's not going to happen. Not so fast. We're going to get to this article and I'm going to give you the buzz. There's things that are flying around. The idea of playing games has been floated since last fall as part of the proposal where the SEC and the Big Ten would get 4 guaranteed bids to an expanded 14-team playoff field. The most discussed proposal has been to have the 2 top seeds meet in the SEC championship game as usual. Both teams ensure a playoff bid, but playing for a bye. The 2 playing games matching the 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 seeds. But the SEC has discussed a more radical idea. The 4 playing games matching 1 versus 8, 4 versus 5, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6. Now, this article was written a few days ago. I can tell you, as I'm sitting here right in this studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue, there is a reason why this is getting the buzz. There's a certain inertia to all this. We're going to get to it. It's one of the ideas on the table. Excuse me. Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland said Wednesday as he left New Orleans. Now it's Sunday evening. I'm sorry, it's Sunday afternoon here in Minnesota. This was Wednesday. But I can tell you, the buzz is still alive for that one crazy radical idea. Scott Strickland said Wednesday as he left New Orleans, where SEC and the Big Ten athletic directors met to discuss several issues. This isn't the only idea, and there doesn't yet appear a consensus, but it shows how far the conference is going to rethink championship weekend. We'll see what happens, Alabama athletic director Greg Byron said when asked if the format was in play. The Big Ten's discussion has swirled around the top two teams playing for a championship, while number 3 would face number 6 and number 4 would play number 5 in the CFP playing games. Nothing is finalized, but there's potential for the games to take place on campuses or even all 3 in 2 days at one venue. Nothing is finalized. Nothing is finalized. Now, again, if we look up at the title screen, we give the example of last year. If this would have been in place last year, it would have been Oregon versus Penn State, Iowa number 6 against Indiana number 3, Illinois number 5 against the Buckeyes, Ohio State number 4. In the SEC, it would have been Texas and Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, LSU number 5 against Alabama number 4. Now, if the SEC would have went to 8 teams, I think Texas A&M, and I don't even know what the other team would have been involved if there was 8 teams in a 4-game plan. Let me know in the chat room. Texas A&M, I think, would have been in there. Texas A&M. What would have been the other team? Ole Miss. I'm sorry. Ole Miss. Ole Miss or Missouri. Ole Miss or Missouri. One of those teams. Okay, so again, that would have been what it would have looked like last year if both the SEC and the Big Ten would have went 1 versus 2, then 6 versus 3, 5 versus 4. The winner and the loser of the conference championship game would get an automatic berth into the playoffs, and then the winner of the other 2 playing games gets another 2 spots. Back to the article. One of the things that we're going to continue to prioritize is trying to find ways to make our regular season as exciting as we possibly can. Illinois Athletic Director Josh Whitman said, "How can we keep as many fan bases engaged into November? How can we create meaningful football games in November?" So, any ideas, a strike at that, are things that are going to be worth having conversations about. Whitman's Illinois team would have entered that discussion last year. The Illini finished 9-3 in the regular season and tied for the 5th alongside Iowa in the Big Ten standings. Illinois would have faced Ohio State in a game pitting number 4 versus number 5 with an opportunity to qualify for a CFP spot. Indiana would have played Iowa for another CFP berth. A play-in loser would then contend for an at-large spot outside of the guaranteed allotment. And we're going to circle back to that because that is where the buzz is coming from. The value, back to the article. The value of a conference championship games has taken a hit in the expanded CFP era. All 5 conference champions who made the field, lost their first game, including the top 4 seeds who had byes: Oregon, Georgia, Boise State, and Arizona State. But the SEC will be reluctant to just do away with its championship game. It was the first conference to create one in 1992. It has become very lucrative. This past year's game, when Georgia beat Texas in overtime, drew the highest ratings for any non-playoff college football game last season. Still, the notion of a play-in weekend has gained steam, especially with the chance of the extra games to bring in more revenue. The Big Ten floated the idea first, and while the SEC has been slower to get on board, many in the league now believe some sort of change is. And finally, in the article, the conversations were really and ended up with 7 championship weekend. That includes the somewhat radical possibility of the 8th place team getting a chance to earn a bid by knocking out the top seed. There's a couple of different things that are going on here. A whole lot of politics. There has been basically 8 SEC programs that have been in favor of the SEC going to 9 conference games. They've been in favor of that for the last couple of years. There has been basically the same 8 SEC programs that are against the conference going to 9 conference games. Those 8 programs at the SEC that have been against adding a conference game are looking at their value. They're looking at, well, it's going to be more difficult for us to get to a bowl game. We miss out on a few more bowl games than normal, and then we're going to lose interest. We're going to lose support. We're just going to lose on this deal. Yeah, we're going to make some money